And if you're a student, you may not have the opportunity yet to uh, realize this for yourself, but so most decisions in the world are not based on much evidence, and you don't necessarily need very good data or much less scientific data to make good decisions. There are, of course, there are plenty of ways to do bad decisions without data and with data also, but we'll delve deeper into one way of decision making that doesn't rely on being correct in order to make it. Now, I warmly recommend this set of book called the Inserto series. And they're also available as audiobooks, and I particularly enjoy re-listening every year or two. And there are also these books that I might recommend around the topics of this part of the course. So, Ecological Rationality is a book by the research group that has done a lot of most of the research to get this field started, field of heuristics and adaptive ecological decision making. The middle book is by one of these people who are the leaders of this research area. It's a very short book that gives you the intuition about intuitions and when they work and when they don't. And the one on the right is a book by Ben Flubares. Lydia is one of the leading experts on project management and how did you make these huge mega projects work and what leads to their failure. We will use him as our guide to planning things in the real world. He has done a lot of research on the topic, and this book is a wonderful distillation of that work. So let's talk a little bit about how can we tell the future based on what has come before. Because sometimes the future can be like the past, and sometimes it can be something completely different. So black swans are a term for these high impact, low probability events that were mostly unforeseen, but they can be rationalized in retrospect. So usually after they have happened, a lot of people will say that, oh, this was obvious, it's going to happen. Look at this and this and this path that led up to it. By the way, there's also a wonderful book by Duncan Watts called Everything is Obvious Once You Know the Answer. During my studies, I read that several times and always got more out of it. But this problem of black swans regards to something like how can we take something that has never happened before and try to predict it, and can we even predict it? Because usually these are really unpredictable to people. But here also there's mentioning that they're not unpredictable to everyone, so it's sort of subjective. So 9/11 was a black swan to the people in the United States, but not for the terrorists. And but Karl Popper, a famous philosopher of science, teaches us that your knowledge proceeds by falsification. So if you remember the picture of Richard Feynman, who was telling us to bend over backwards to prove ourselves wrong. So each falsification really has a very large impact on the amount of knowledge we have. And so there's this story about before the discovery of Australia, when everyone knew that all swans were white. But then Australia was discovered, and it was found that there are actually swans that are black, hence the name black swans for the black swan event. But the occurrence, the observation of one single swan uh, falsified the evidence of all the white swans that had existed, that had been observed previously. And the hypothesis that all swans are white was immediately discarded with the sighting of just a single black one. And there's also another way to illustrate this story. You think about a pig, and who lives on a farm, has a very comfortable life. Every day, people come and feed him. Every day, he gets to hang around in his leisure, and every day, he's confident that he's in a safe place, gets higher and higher and higher. And then one day comes Christmas. And if you don't get this reference, in Finland we eat ham on Christmas, but it's the same story has been told by Bertrand Russell from the perspective of a chicken, and by Nassim Nicholas Taleb from the perspective of a turkey in front of Thanksgiving. And this also relates to what we discussed earlier about stability in fat-tailed domains. So you have this peak of more common events. And so everything is very, very stable, and nothing happens until everything happens at once. And to survive in these environments, we need to resort to first of all protecting our downside, so protecting our risks, even though it seems that there's not much to that nothing has happened before, and it may seem silly to insure yourself against something that hasn't happened. But we will talk about that in a later section about risk management. But also to do this, as we mentioned, the evolutionary tinkering, which is like trying things out and producing a lot of variety and picking what works and discarding what doesn't.